everyone, I'm a DIL Ambassador from the UK. My name is Tanyo, and today we are joined by, today I will be co-moderating with Teire, a DIL Ambassador from the UK.
Hello, I'm Teire. I'm from Coventry and I'm 21 years old.
It's a particularly special event because we are joined for the first time with DIL International Ladies for our first ever joint conference. Moderating on their behalf will be Miss Johnson and Miss Abisola. Hi, over to you.
Good morning. My name is Nicole Johnson. I've been a member of the DIL Ladies, International Ladies group for, I'm not sure how long now, but it's been a while. And we've also got Miss Abisola joining us, if she'd like to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Abisola from Nigeria.
Thank you.
My name is Kibonen Nfi, and I'm a fashion designer based out of New York and today. And I'm just really thrilled to see so many young people log on as participants. I'm really very honored, and it's always my pleasure to be able to share my knowledge and my experience with others. So talking about like the week when I graduated, what am I going to say? My graduation week was very, very special. The week when I was graduating, I'm just going to give you a little story of what had happened to me. I had received a request from Lupita Nyong'o to make some dresses for her. And I had decided to I did not have enough time or money to be able to make the clothes. So I decided to just go on my sewing machine and work with another tailor to be able to get these things made. So on the day of my final portfolio presentation, I could not be there. So I went to the hall. Everybody had set up. I set up my own stuff, opened up my portfolio book, put my mannequins and everything, but I just could not be there physically. And I took permission from my president. But one thing I'm going to say, the days leading to my graduation, you see, I went back to fashion school as an adult. So I was in school with like the 18-year-olds and the 20-year-olds, and I was in my 30s. So I happened to have lived in the dorm with these young ones, and it was a whole experience for me. There were some people I made as friends then who are still my friends till today. When I have any problem, when I need any assistance, when I need any help, I readily run to them. When I need some people to help me with my fashion shows or with my trade shows or with my sales events, I readily call on them. So what I'm going to say as far as, the friendships and, those last days are like the most treasured days of every student. But you don't make friends on that last week. You make friends from the people you've been with, who've supported you, whom you've been able to support. You've worked together. Imagine me, I was in fashion school, right? We had to be either sketching or sewing. And this, you're not writing a test. You write tests sometimes, but most of the time you're being evaluated on what you present. So your work, either your sketch or your outfit on a mannequin. So it always had to be complete. Because if it's not complete, it's not going to fit on the mannequin and all of that. So a lot of people might have come in on the night when you're burning the midnight candle, trying to make sure that you have the thing ready by the next day. And those people have been there. I'm truly very grateful to have been a part of this school. Why? Because it formed me, it gave me tools, it gave me opportunities, it opened doors for me, and it made me meet some of the best friends, sisters and brothers that I've had, and I'm working with them and growing with them till this point.
So our next question is, I see you discovered on Honey, Humans of New York. Right. Do you remember where you were going that day? Or what
Actually,
was it like?
when Brandon Stanton of Humans of New York discovered me, I had just left the bus station. I left from Maryland and I was going back to New York for the first time since I had moved out of New York in 2015. So I was going back to New York for the first time. And when I left the bus station at Port Authority, I was walking through Port Authority to get to outside of the train, of the subway station, so I could go to the fabric shop. As I was walking, I remember it was around the winter, fall. I had a kimono jacket on, which I had done with African print and wool. I was literally just dazing, to be honest. I was just like focused on trying to go get my fabric. And I see this person walking to me in the middle of the crowd. I mean, if you have an idea of what Times Square or Port Authority looks like, it's always very, very packed. And I'm walking in the middle of these people, you know, trying to navigate my way. And this person is walking directly to me. And he comes up to me and says, "I think you have a story for me." And I'm like,
wow.
"Me?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"What story?" And in my mind, I'm like, which of my stories does this guy really want to hear? And
Yes.
he said, he thinks I have a story for him. It was very supernatural for me. And I was laughing at him. I'm like, "Oh, whatever." And he said, "No, I'm the founder of Humans of New York." And I said, "That's not true, you know, because we all know Humans of New York, but we never put the face to the person, and we just see his beautiful work." So he showed himself, introduced himself, showed me his page and everything. I was like, "Oh my God, for real?" And, you know, we started talking. I stood on to the side with him for 2 hours. And he kept asking me questions. So these stories, I was like, okay, I'm from Cameroon. I moved to America in 2005. I went to fashion school, but back home I was a banker. So I'm trying to navigate that thing. I'm just graduating from fashion school. I got very depressed after I graduated from fashion school because Lupita Nyong'o requested to wear my clothes and she did not end up wearing it. So I was very depressed and I decided to move out of New York. I was just like not in a good place. And it is so amazing. I moved out and I got so reconstructed, so rebuilt, so energized because I took time off to grow myself, you know, spiritually, in other ways besides school. So when I was coming back, I was a completely new person. And I told him, I was like, it's so amazing that the first person I meet coming back to New York for the first time since I left is you. This must be something supernatural. And he told me one thing. He said, "When I'm going to share your story on my page, you're going to blow up." And I laughed. I was like, well, whatever that means. And I left. But you see, experiencing Brandon he's like an angel. He feels like an angel. He talks like an angel. He looks at you. It's such a supernatural experience. And I understand why he is the way he is. He's kind of like me. He has a little mystery around him. You cannot really say Brandon is X, Y, or Z, but he is very soft-spoken. And when he listens, can you imagine? I was looking forward to my story like everybody else because I did not know which angle he was going to put out there. Like, he is super, super talented. Like, he is amazing. And to be honest, he deserves all the successes that he's getting. So for me on that day, I was just in a daze, reimagining myself in New York City and wondering what exactly was happening to me. And this guy just walked up to me. So that was how it happened.
Wow. Absolutely. Imagine if Brendan hadn't been there that day or you hadn't followed the same routine that you were going on that day. You're a perfect example of being in the right place at the right time.
Exactly. No, like for real. And you know, one thing I'm going to say about that is there is something in us which we always call hunches or nudges or whatever. That sixth sense that, you know, prompts you to do something. And a lot of times, believe me, when that thing prompts you, follow it.
Okay.
That is the strongest spirit within you. When it says do this, don't try to reason it or think it out or say, no, let me do this instead. That is what you have to do. And I remember I had postponed my trip to New York so much. And I kept saying, oh no, the person who was mentoring me had given me 90 days. And she said, let me work with you for 90 days and help you get to a better place. And it was on the 90th day that I decided to go to New York. Not interrupt this trip. Let me not interrupt this session. Let me go when I'm done with my 90 days. And after on that 90th day, can you imagine how supernatural that is?
Wow, that's truly something.
Yeah.
Wow. Follow your sixth sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
Okay, so you have received many awards over the path of your career. When you attend these events and these after parties and occasions, how do you network and approach people? Have you had, yes?
Oh my goodness. So you can tell I'm a very bubbly person, right? I'm like all over the place, like, oh my God, I'm like this. So I'm just going to tell you this. So I smile a whole lot. Like, if you find me somewhere, I bet you'll see me smiling like this. Hello, how are you? Oh my God.
Okay.
So, like, I have attracted to you from the spirit. Like, what you bring out, what you exude is what really captures people. So for instance, when I'm always in this, I mean, I've been in so many, even like really, really high profile events, but when I'm going there on my mind, I'm like, I'm coming back with at least one real connection, one real person who I can have their number on my phone. Like, I go there with an objective. You know, of course, there are some people who are coming there because they want to get to meet me, they want to get to know me, they want to get to have, you know, some kind of interaction with me. But I also am going there, I'm like, there must, like, I remember when I was invited to be a speaker at the Congressional Black Caucus, and it had all the senators were there, I had researched everybody who was going to be there, and I knew exactly who I wanted to leave that place with their contact. And, you know, so there is that thing, like, be so intentional. To be honest with you, the one thing that would put you ahead is to be intentional. Have a reason, have a goal in everything you do. Make sure you have a goal, something you want to attain, such that even when you don't attain it, you attain something very close. Whenever I'm somewhere, I always have, like, in my mind, I tune off shyness. I tune off, oh my God, I'm so timid. Make your mark. And your mark is not only going to be on the stage where you're talking or going to take your award, or your mark could even be on the table where you're sitting. Don't leave that place without having connected with one or two. Come up with something. It's very, very, very important to be able to make your presence felt, but not in an obnoxious manner, but in a kind and pleasant way. That way you naturally give up a good vibe, which helps people relate with you best. So that's just what I'm going to say.
Moving over to the last question from me. Every design has a story behind it. What has been one of the most meaningful to you?
So I naturally, I am that designer. I just don't do things for the sake of, I always think of what am I bringing different in what I am doing? How am I educating? How am I passing across the message? So I'm not just a copy and paste kind of designer. I always have a story. I always have something I want to put out there in my work. So what inspired my clothing line as a whole was the tradition of my culture, where I come from in Cameroon, the regalia that is worn by the chiefs and the queens, and on special occasions by the people of the Grassfield region, which is like the Bamileke people. That outfit which they wear is very, very prestigious. It's very rich. The embroidery is done by hand. So it's like a very intricate kind of work, you know, which takes time to make a whole garment, or like a 2-yard. Doing the embroidery on it takes a lot of time. And not only that, when I started, I realized that researching about this cloth, about this fabric, it has so much meaning. You know, every single thing that is embroidered on the garment has a significance, which means when you wear it, I can tell who you are just by seeing the different motifs and patterns embroidered on it. You could either be a chief's wife, a new wife who has not had a kid, or you could either be a new wife who is like just so many different significance. So there was a particular symbol which I like, which is the gong. It's like a traditional instrument, right? It's called the gong. I don't know if you know of it. So if you have the gong on your outfit, it means you're a warrior who went for a tribal war and won. And then coming back, the gong was being used as a symbol of victory, the sound as they're singing. So it was like a new day for me. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And what I realized was when I look at designers, right, like really established designers, there is something which they call the DNA of the brand. If you look at a brand like Burberry, for instance, Burberry has its DNA, which came from the traditional Scottish tartan, right? So that, like, whenever I did my branding, I always
this question's
have
gonna
Burberry
sound so random now because I wrote different
and I'm like,
questions, but
you could see a
I
Burberry
had,
outfit
how did
anywhere
you
and you know
use
that
the
that's
best of all
Burberry.
the
Or
cultures
you
you've
see
been
the
living in
traditional
to run your
double
ethical
embroidery,
manufacturing
all with
plant?
these things of Kibonen. So the goal of my ethical manufacturing plant is just the fact that I am a very environmental, socially conscious person. When I started fashion, that has always been my goal, to not only sell beautiful clothes but to transform lives in the process. So when I was in New York City, I realized that it was easy to just get lost with the culture. I mean, New York is a bustling and hustling place, and sometimes you just feel the need to fit in. You understand? You just want to fit in. But I've always grown to know that I cannot fit in. I always have to stand out. And for me, when I wanted, I was like, I'm this young girl, African girl in New York City. How can I be different? How can I stand out? And that was how I decided to start making these dresses. And this was in 2009.
Oh, wow.
And when Barack Obama became president of the United States and he was part African, I know a lot of people will be wanting to connect or relate with Africa in one way or the other. So those were really the things that pushed me to get into fashion, the kind of fashion that I went into. And back home, I had all these women I was working with. They did the embroidery by hand, they did the tailoring. So I was just like, if these women in my manufacturing plant, I had a daycare where the women could come bring their kids and keep the kids there, so they don't stay at home because they have nobody to take care of the children. So I created a whole ecosystem, and the reason I did that was because I had seen the way things are being done in America. I've been in Nigeria. I've seen that there's an atmosphere, and when I look at the way my people back home, first of all, they do not have so much value for the skills and talents that they have. So I had to bring them up to a place where I made my tailors know that being a tailor is the most fantastic and amazing job there is out there. You are not just a tailor, because you know how they always want to relegate it to like the people who are they label it tailoring, hairdressing, and all of that. Like, you're not supposed to have been a kind of person to do those things. So I had to add value to the lives of these people, and I had to also train them to assert themselves and have confidence from within. So if you met I had 70 employees. If you met any of the people working with me, they were different. The way they speak, I try to transfer the little I have learned in different places onto them, which to me was key. Because I always say this, I never want anybody who meets me to remain the same. I never want you to have the same mindset. I want to be able to put out something positive that gets into your spirit and becomes a way that you live. Because maybe you appreciated something about me. So the cultures, the experiences, because I traveled a whole lot. I lived in South Africa at some point. So I had to bring all of these things, and it was a beautiful atmosphere at my factory. And I had so many ways to compensate my workers, to encourage them, there were little competitions that we would do every now and then, the most time conscious, the best, the most productive. So we had incentives that we used on them to make them really feel good.
Good one. The cultures that you've been involved in, or the places that you've been, is there any place that you enjoy the most, or any place you miss?
to be honest, I really love South Africa. Like me being, I went to South Africa for Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week. 3 years in a row, and the experience there was also always phenomenal. The culture there is so rich. The people are so progressive. You know, the environment is beautiful and it's very calm. But the one thing I really learned from South Africa is, because I always used to ask myself, why is it that when things are being done, they always talk about South Africa? And in as much as people will say, okay, yeah, it's been, you know, it has a lot of different people, but even the people in the South Africans themselves, they want to be the best. They want to do things differently. You know, one other place which I really miss, but which people might not believe that I really miss this place, to be honest, is Nigeria.
Really? Why would
Let me tell you, there's something about Lagos, right? So when I'm in Nigeria, I'm in like Bangkok, like all of those places, trying to look for fabric and stuff like that. Listen, there is no energy like Nigeria. Like no matter how long you get stuck in the traffic, you're just cool. You understand? Like it's just like it's fine. It's fine. Let's just do this. Let's do this. And then you realize you're shopping all across the bridge. You're buying useless things which you do not even need. Oh, plantain chips, come. Peanuts,
oh my gosh.
No, see, there's something about Nigeria which I just love. And when I'm in Nigeria, it's like the bush girl just comes out. You know what I mean? Like you just want to eat fried plantain and roasted plantain and corn and all of those things. Like I miss Nigeria. And suya by the street. I love. Yeah, I really miss those things because I'm like a village girl. Like I'm trapped in my village body.
Okay, that does sound good. And thank you for answering my questions. I actually really enjoyed hearing the answers. Okay, but let me pass you on to Mrs. Johnson to ask a few questions as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Kibonen, thank you for joining us today. You've kind of addressed a lot of the questions that we had already prepared about sustainability in fashion. I did have one question about that. How do you think most designers are doing with making sure that their production is eco-friendly or sustainable? Do you think it's something that a lot of designers still need to work on?
So if you notice, right, I love that question. It's a beautiful question. If you notice, right, the Chinese, Turkish, Dubai, world, Bangladesh, India, they've inundated the fashion market. They really have. And one thing, the way they call us sustainable fashion designers is they call us like the slow fashion. Like they call our kind of fashion slow fashion because it's not automized, it's not so mechanized, it's really like more of the craft, you know. But let me tell you something, and the world is going so fast. I mean, you can bear with me. Right now, you don't even need to know how to do designs. You don't even need to be a fashion designer, but you could run a fashion line. You just need to see some things which you like. You send them to China. They replicate the same thing in thousands and send to you. And you start finding outlets to sell them. That has never been my mode of operation. Simply because I think there is more value in what you wear than just fast fashion. And the fast fashion market has so much negativity. If you know how much cloth is just thrown away, garbage, dumped because of excess of production. Because if you're going to go to produce in China and they tell you the minimum is 5,000 and you don't have the required streams of outlets to be able to sell those 5,000 things within the summer period, for instance, then it becomes useless, right? Now, I am a sustainable fashion designer because I love my productions in-house. I love to be able to create and add value in whatever it is that I am doing. A lot of designers are not patient. It does not matter to them. The environment, all of those things don't matter to them. What matters to them is the bottom line. And I'm going to tell you this. I have refused partnerships with a lot of people. I would have been a major household name at this time in New York City. But I refused partnerships from people who wanted me to take my production to Bangladesh or who wanted me to take my production to China. I said, no, that is not my business model. When I was invited to the Buckingham Palace to exhibit my work there, it was because I was running a sustainable, eco-friendly factory in Cameroon, which employed the locals. But I believe that what I'm doing might appear slow, it might appear like behind times, but I know that the reward, because it represents me 100%. And wherever my product stands and speaks, I am confident because that is what I want out there. I don't want a little piece of something which has no meaning, no value, tossed anywhere. And there's just something that goes with I like soulful clothes. I love things that have a touch of something more than just clothing. And I always want that if somebody receives a piece of my clothing, the person should feel zen and serene and some kind of calmness, not just like ripping up the thing just to get access to it, but like there should be an experience, feel something. So something talked about a lot, because the fashion industry is the polluting industry in the world. The pollution, the waste, was a zero waste factory. So whatever it was that we had left over as fabric, we reconstructed it to morph yards of fabric. So we had like the patchwork system where we just and our trash was treated like real, like real. We would sell or give away our trash to people who do pillows and they would use it to stuff it, or people who do chairs and they would use those little scraps to stuff it. So in my mind, I just had that eco-friendly, climate friend, like all of those things in my processes. And believe me, it does not take much. It just takes you wanting and consciously putting in the effort to do it.
Right, it's sort of like changing your mindset. And I imagine that a lot of your customers are also attracted to this part of your product line, that you are a sustainable company.
Exactly.
So I was wondering if you'd mind addressing the topic of diversity in the fashion industry. Is it will to change, in your opinion?
So, oh my God, like this topic is so emotional. Like I get so emotional about it because like the fashion industry, to be honest, is the most racist industry. Like you talk about from the models, you talk about the designers, you talk about being included in certain things. Like, and I'm so glad that a lot of people just owned up. When this whole thing happened, a lot of people just owned up and they outrightly apologized that this is what they've been doing and this is how they've been conducting themselves. And I have been so blessed that I've been able to be featured in all the Vogues and all those, high-end magazines. But it always came in a box. It always came because they are looking for Black talent. So it's not like the normal. It's not like the everyday.
Right.
A situation has to be created for us to feel included, And it started becoming like, okay, so there is this story. When I was in school, right? We had to audition to be part of the New York Fashion Week. So our school had a partnership with Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week. So when I went for the audition, my theme was just like African chic, so like a modern chic. I was going to represent my African prints and my traditional embroidery. Like I could not be bothered. That's what I know. So every single person, all of the students who were there told me, if you go with this your African print thing, they're not going to let you. You're not going to. Listen to the way it comes out. If you go with this your African print thing, you're not gonna get through. You're not gonna be a part of it. You're not gonna be chosen. You will not make the audition. And I'm like, are you kidding me? but this is such innovation. This is such diversity in the industry. Like, I don't get, like, isn't that just going to be beautiful to see all these other designers and then one African girl representing African prints at Lincoln Center in Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week? So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to listen to anybody. I did my audition, prepared my package. My entire mood board was like the African woman in the marketplace, in wherever, Balogun markets, whatever, with their stuff on the floor, selling pepper and tomatoes and stuff on the floor. That was my mood board. And on the side, I had skyscrapers. So for me, in my mind, it's like, how can we get these things into those skyscrapers, right? Like, into high fashion. When I went in for my audition, the panel was sitting there. It was all white professors, right? But fortunately, I had one of my professors who's from Ireland. And for some reason, Europeans are just more cultured. Like, they are more exposed to different things than Americans. When I walk in, I present my stuff, present my move. As I'm laying up my presentation, my mannequin with the clothes on it, and then I place my mood board, one of the professors said, I hope you're not going to do that dashiki stuff. Like, if anybody knows what dashiki is, oh my God, when I think about it.
I'm sorry if this is getting too emotional for you. I'm
laughing right now, but it was just that moment. And remember, yeah. I'm like an African girl. I'm not like an African American girl.
Right.
And one thing I got to even realize was that the dashiki meant so much to the African Americans, because for them it's like an identity. It's like something that they relate with, you know. Right. Even though they kind of label them because they wear those things, they kind of connote them like, oh, these are the ones who so want to be African, but they are stuck in America and stuff like that. So when he said that, it, like, you know, when something pierces you deep, and not just the word, the face attached to it. I hope you're not going to do that dashiki thing. I was like, this dashiki thing, you're going to see it at Lincoln Center, at Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week. So I had to do a whole education. I had to educate them about the African print. I had to educate them about the length of time this thing has been out there. I had to go to websites like Blisco and all those websites of print, I had to show them where the inspirations came from. And I had to explain to them how these were even the fabric that were given to the chiefs who gave their wives in exchange for slaves. Like, it's a whole story, and you cannot try to just make it look like something so trivial. And I was like, can you go on Google? I took my time. I was like, there has to be an education right here. Mm-hmm. And they Googled everything, and they were like, wow, I could see their face changing. And that's also one of the important things of being unapologetic and being there to tell your story. When I finished, there was the professor from Ireland. She's like, so whose clients are you trying to take out of the market? Whose clients? In fashion, we say, whose clients are you trying to steal? And I said, I gave a couple of names. I said, but I was like, I gave a complete and thorough education from the origins, from the story behind it, from the people who are modernizing it to where these things are being sold right now. By the time I left that room,
that's great.
I felt satisfied and could breathe, because I was like, this is not about you wanting to minimize or underestimate who I am or what I represent or the things about me, but you needed an education. And I'm sure that my professor, it transformed the way he looked at it. Today, he's running his own public relations firm, and he's wanting me to be a client. I'm like, that's me, you know. So, so anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah. I got saying.
No, it's totally understandable, and I'm glad that you did take that teachable moment and take the time to educate some people, because clearly racism is born of ignorance. So anytime we have the opportunity to help educate people who are ignorant about whatever it is they're ignorant about, that's a great thing that we can all do.
Right. And do it nicely, smoothly.
Yes, exactly. Elegantly. Elegantly, yes. All right. I'm finished with the questions that we had.